Yo, what's up everyone, it's Mr. Marvell here with another Assassin's Creed video. So one of my first videos I posted on YouTube was my top 5 Assassin's Creed games, with Black Flag taking my number 1 spot. And I didn't really go into the greatest detail why, but in this video I'm going to back up those claims. So let's go back to 2013. The series had just come off the back of the Desmond saga, where the game spanned from the Crusades to the American Revolution. We had an established lore and lovable characters like Ezio intertwined with real history, and with the world saved by Desmond in Assassin's Creed 3, it felt like the series had run its natural course, which I would have totally accepted at the time, but of course the series was successful and new games were in development, with the next being Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Although I would have accepted the series to end on a high, I couldn't help but feel excited once Black Flag was announced. There of course were some doubts about the parkour being pushed to one side for sailing the Caribbean Sea, but I was open to the time period of the golden age of pirates. And on the 29th of October 2013, the hype became a reality with the release of the game. Straight off the bat I was in awe of the game as you are thrown into a naval battle and washed up on an island with an assassin, Duncan Walpole, who is on a secret mission to aid the Templars and betray the assassins. You then chase him down and kill him in cold blood, stealing his robes, the glass vial and maps of the assassin's base in Tulum. This event sets up the narrative of the game, weaving in and out of the assassin and Templar feud in the Caribbean. Now for me this is a far more interesting angle than growing up as an assassin, or being an assassin from a young age like the majority of the other games. Edward saw this conflict from an outsider's point of view. He wasn't told to adopt the tenets of the Creed, he simply stumbled into the war of the Assassins and Templars. And it was pretty refreshing to play as a protagonist with a different perspective. And no, not just from the perspective of a pirate. I mean, I've heard that argument 1,000 times. Black Flag is a brilliant pirate game but not an Assassin's Creed game. That statement couldn't be further from the truth. Yes, there are obvious pirate elements, but we still have Assassin's Creed core themes like loyalty, friendship and redemption added to the Assassin and Templar war. This may have been subtle as Edward doesn't actually become an assassin until late in the game, but it's there to see throughout the story. In most of the other games it's clear from the start what will happen once someone you care about dies. You then kill a bunch of targets and eventually get revenge. But Edward's journey is different. Once he catches wind of the observatory, his only aim is to find it and sell it.
Thank me for this pittance. 1,000 reals for those maps. That's what? £100 at most. How's a man supposed to become rich in these times with a miser like Torres running the world?
Have you ever worked on a plantation before?
You know what I'm thinking? I'd like to see this observatory the governor's going on about. He said it were like a device that could follow people around and show where they were.
A ludicrous idea. Imagine my wife with such an advantage over me.
And imagine what a thing like that'd be worth. Sell that to the right person and I'd be the richest pirate. Privateer in the West Indies. I'll catch you up, Bonnet. There's a sage in that house I must speak to in private.
The assassinations such as Julian de Casse and Lawrence Prins are simply a means towards that end as he seeks the sage. No other game in the series does this. Also, let's not forget that the assassins are still very prominent. Edward meets them in Tulum as they are suffering from ongoing attacks because of Edward's greediness. And after confirming the sage is alive and then aiding the assassins, Al-Tabai still doesn't welcome Edward into the fore.
Bloody hell, we nearly had him.
By God, you bravos are a cheery bunch, eh? All frowns and furrowed brows.
Captain Kenway, you have remarkable skills.
Oh, thanks, mate. It comes natural.
But you're churlish and arrogant, prancing around in a uniform that you have not earned.
Everything is permitted. Isn't that your motto?
I absolve you of your errors in Havana and elsewhere, but you are not welcome here.
Sorry, mate. Wish it were otherwise.
Edward, being the brash pirate he is, shrugs it off and moves on, seeking the Sage and the observatory. But he still finds himself encountering the Templars as Woodes Rogers offers a pardon to the pirates, and when Torres is hunting down the Sage. Edward, despite not being an assassin or Templar, is a moving part in the war whether he likes it or not. Now with this, we didn't get the typical villain scene in the series. Yes, most will say Torres and his Templars were the main villains, but the Sage Bartholomew Roberts at one point was the main antagonist after he betrayed you at the observatory. He was neither an assassin or Templar. It was a nice change of pace hunting down someone of great importance and not a Templar. But this impacted the war between the two factions hugely, as he was the only one who could open the doors to the observatory. Now, over the course of the game, Edward realises what's important and makes amends for his past mistakes, with the help of his own experiences, sadly losing his friends and Adewale's persuasion.
Jesus, Ade, what the hell happened here?
You happened here, Edward. The damage you caused 6 years ago has not been undone.
I'm not an easy man to call a friend, am I? Is that why you're here?
To fight beside a man so driven by personal gain and glory is a hard thing, Edward. And I have come to feel the assassins and their creed a more honorable course. Have I been unfair?
No. For years I've been rushing around taking whatever I fancied, not giving a tinker's curse for those I hurt. And yet here I am, with riches and a reputation, feeling no wiser than when I left home. Yet when I turn around, look at the course I've run. There's not a man or woman that I love left standing beside me.
There is time to make amends, Captain Kenway.
Mary. Before she died, she asked me to do good by her, to sort out the mess I made. Can you help me?
Altabai finally approves of Edward, and aside from Ezio as he starred in 3 games, it's the best character development seen in an Assassin's Creed game. You can see this from the confessions when you compare the assassinations of Prince to Torres. His priorities go from riches and reputation to righting his own wrongs.
Why hang over me like a leering crow to see an old man suffer?
You've caused no small portion of suffering yourself, Mr. Prince. Retribution, I suppose.
You absurd cutthroats and your precious philosophy. You live in the world, but you cannot make it move.
You mistake my motive, old man. I'm only after a bit of coin.
As was I, lad. As was I.
Captain Kenway, ever a splinter in my side. Does this murder fulfill you?
I'm only seeing a job done, Torres. As you'd have done with me.
As we have done, I think. You have no family anymore, no friends, no future. Your losses are far greater than ours.
That may be. But killing you rights a far greater wrong than ever I did.
You honestly believe that?
You would see all of mankind corralled into a neatly furnished prison, safe and sober, yet dulled beyond reason and sapped of all spirit. So I, with everything I've seen and learned in these last years, I do believe it.
You wear your convictions well. They suit you.
To top it all off, the ending was beautifully put together as Amboni sung The Parting Glass while Edward met his daughter for the first time. It capped off a roller coaster of emotions, and I couldn't help but shed a tear or two when you see all of your old mates at the table who had passed. The most impactful ending in the series without a doubt.
Of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company. and all the harm that e'er I've done. Alas, it was to none but me, and all I've done for want of wit to memory now I can't. So felt the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all.
And that leads me nicely on to the next segment of this video, the side characters. For me, there are very few games that make you care about the side characters as much as Black Flag did. We have had amazing side characters like Da Vinci in Assassin's Creed 2, Caesar Borgia in Brotherhood and Yusuf in Revelations. But no game where so many of the side characters are as lovable and well developed. Even in Origins and Odyssey, where the stories are a lot longer and have more side quests, do not have the characters you feel as emotionally attached to. Each of your mates have their own roles to play. Stede Bonnet provides his boat to sail for Havana, Adewale helps you escape and becomes the trusty quartermaster. Blackbeard and Hornicord are the fatherly pirate figures. Mary Read introduces you to the assassins, whilst Fane and Rackham help the pirate cause but are very reckless, and Anne Bonny becomes Edward's second quartermaster. Now those descriptions just simplify those characters, but there's so many moments that make you connect to them. Stede Bonnet, for example, when you sail into the ocean heading for Havana.
You're a natural sailor, Duncan.
I did a decent trick at the helm some time ago. 2 years before the mast as a privateer.
Dash my buttons. Your life seems a grand one, if I may say. So full of adventure. How marvelous.
I've seen my share of strangeness, aye.
This moment was a real feel-good moment with Stede very early on in the game, and those feel-good moments continued with Blackbeard and Hornigold.
Not a bad take today. Keep this up and Nassau will be the first city where men and women may live as God made them. Easy and free. All it takes is a few drops of blood, sweat, and a swatch of cloth.
We fly no colours out here. We praise the lack of them. So let the black flag signal nothing but your allegiance to man's natural freedoms. This one's yours. Fly it proud.
I will.
And with Mary, Adewale and Blackbeard again.
Here's to our pirate republic, lads. We're prosperous, free, and out the reach of kings, clergy, and debt collectors.
Near 500 men now pledge their allegiance to the Brethren of the Coast in Nassau. Not a bad number.
Truth. Yet we lack sturdy defenses. If the king were to attack the town, he'd trample us.
Then let us find the observatory. If it does what these Templars claim, we'll be unbeatable.
Not that twaddle again, Kenway. It's a story for schoolboys. I mean, proper defenses. Steal a galleon, shift all the guns to one side. Would make a nice ornament for one of our harbors.
It will not be easy to steal a full Spanish galleon. Have you one in mind?
I do, sir. And I'll show you. She's a fussock, she is. Fat and slow.
The game tackled issues such as slavery, and in this clip you can feel Adewale's pain and hope.
I've made my choice, Addy. I'm calling her the Jackdaw. A sly bird I loved as a child back in Swansea.
A dark little creature, no?
Did it rub you wrong when I took this brig as mine own?
It was the sort of rub I have learned to endure, sailing among faces of such fairness.
It's true. Most of these men wouldn't accept you as a captain. So what fair role would complement such unfairness?
I'll be your quartermaster. Nothing less.
All right. And as quartermaster, have you any immediate counsel for this Tyro captain?
Rest and repast would do us good before Nassau. Water for drinking. Hunting for food and repairs.
Well reasoned, sir. Hunting, it shall be. We'll find a decent place to drop anchor.
We also had some truly epic speeches by Blackbeard.
Ahoy! Any luck?
I found one crate hidden beneath a school of sharks. Sadly, the elixir inside is quite spoilt.
Schlegan. Perish. Will we steal medicines now?
Remember the pardon, Thatch. We're to be subtle.
Says Ornagold, a pirate, now too proud to call himself one.
He prefers caution to cannons.
Caution's nothing without charisma. Or if a man plays the fool, then it's only fools he'll persuade, but appear to be the devil. And all men will submit.
And would you be the devil?
For an audience. Aye. All a big show. Give your quarry something to fear. Some hellish thing from a fevered dream. And men will drop to their knees, pleading for their lord before all else.
Oh, God. Looks fine.
Of course it does. You can find a quiet way to acquire medicines. Tell me soon. Otherwise...
Poor old Steed Bonnet, eh? Moments like these built up my connection with those characters, which is why their deaths impacted me hugely as the player.
In a world without gold, we might have been heroes!
Devil curse me. Where's the jackdaw?
What of Thatch, sir? Did he fall? Captain?
He drinks damnation.
Don't die on my account. Go.
This is such a pain in the ass. Damn it. You should have been the one to outlast me.
I've done my part. Will you?
If you came with me, I could. Mary.
I'll be with you, Kenway. I will.
Even Hornigold, who had joined the Templars, I felt for after assassinating him.
Hold your ground. Oh! You could have been a man who stood for something. But you've a killer's heart now. With nothing but metal to show for all your blunders.
Damn sight better than you, Ben. The heart of a traitor who thinks himself better than his mates.
Aye, and proven true. What have you done since Nassau fell, huh? Nothing but murder and mayhem.
You threw in with the very kind we once hated!
No! These Templars are different. I wish you could see that. But if you continue on your present course, you'll find you're the only one walking it. With the gallows at its end.
It may be. But now the world has one less snake in it. And that's enough for me.
In addition to these moments, Anne Bonny really came into her own towards the end of the game and showed her pain after losing Mary and her child.
Edward.
I'm sorry for your loss.
If I'd stayed in prison, they'd have taken him from me. He'd now be alive. Maybe this is God's way of saying I'm not fit to be a mother yet. Carrying on like I do. Cursing and drinking and fighting.
You are a fighter, aye. In prison, I heard stories of the infamous Anne Bonny and Mary Read taking on the King's Navy together. Just the pair of you.
It's all true. Anne would have won that day if Jack and his lads were passed out in the hold from drink. Edward. Everyone's gone, aren't they? Mary, Raccoon, Touch, all the rest. I miss them so. Rough as they were. Do you feel that too? All empty inside?
I do. Devil curse me.
She capped off the game with a wonderful version of the parting glass as mentioned before, and all of Edward's mates at the table. This was a fitting tribute to those who had fallen and leaves a little lump in my throat to this day. I just couldn't make a case for any other AC game to have as good as side characters as Black Flag. They all impacted me massively, and I don't think it will be repeated again in the series, but if anyone can do it, Derby can. Now to the open world and gameplay. I have chosen to talk about these two factors together, as they complement each other. After all, you couldn't have the naval combat without the open world of the Caribbean Sea, could you? The open world itself is vast and diverse, from the raging seas to the deserted islands. There really are many wonderful locations to explore. The size of the open world felt necessary, and I spent hours upon end exploring. It gave me a sense of freedom that I'd never had in a game before. The best Assassin's Creed game to compare this to is of course Odyssey. But while playing Odyssey, I just felt overwhelmed by the sheer size of the map. Yes, there is more to do in Odyssey, but that is not necessarily a good thing, even for an RPG. While sailing the Caribbean Sea with the shanties in the background, I felt like a pirate. I felt like I could sail anywhere and uncover the mysteries of the Caribbean. It just felt right.
All dressed in white, like some fair bride. Lowlands away, and bravely in her bosom fair. Lowlands, lowlands away, the John. A red, red rose, my love did wear. Lowlands away.
It didn't bother me that I wasn't parkouring in a big city all the time, because I felt free, and that is what Assassins wanted everyone to have, freedom. Now that's a bit cheesy, I know, but it's true. Adding to this, the open world did include plenty of cities, islands and jungles to parkour in. No other AC game has this variety of areas to parkour in aside from Rogue. Normally we have huge cities which can be a bit samey, or vast areas where you're unable to properly parkour in. Black Flag had the best of both worlds. Add the Caribbean Sea to this and you have a beautifully systemic open world that's fun to explore in and stays true to the parkour elements seen in Assassin's Creed games. Now of course you can't have a game set in the golden age of pirates without naval combat, and once I got the hang of the controls I had so much fun with it. I do like the spears and arrows in Origins and Odyssey, but you can't beat the destruction of cannons. It made me feel powerful, especially when boarding and plundering ships. The upgrade system of the Jackdaw is for me the best upgrade system in the series as well. I never felt like I was grinding too much trying to get the appropriate materials. Once fully upgraded, I was ready for those legendary ships. Now in terms of the sword and pistol combat, I wouldn't say this is the best close range combat in the series, but the quick and silky motions of Black Flag's combat was suited to the time period. And I absolutely loved the transition from the naval combat to the close range combat when boarding ships. It may have been a little bit too easy at times, especially when auto killing enemies, but it suited Edward as being a badass pirate. Also, no superhuman powers were needed and it never felt janky or messy, so all in all the close range combat felt right. The eagle vision was similar to the predecessors, which I believe is superior to controlling an actual eagle. It's true to Assassin's Creed.
Odd looking things, aren't they? Old and weathered.
Is this what they call Mayan? Or is it Aztec?
Are you good with riddles, Edward? Puzzles and ponderings and the like?
No worse than the next man, why?
I think you've a natural gift for it. The way you think and work. The way you understand the world.
Well, I don't know about that. You're talking in riddles now and I don't understand a word.
Clamber on top of this thing here, will you? Help me solve something. Concentrate and focus all your senses. Look past shadow and sound, deep into matter, until you see and hear a kind of shimmering.
A shimmering?
You understand?
I think so. I've seen its like before, glowing like moonlight on the ocean. Ah, right, I know this feeling. I have since I was a lad. It's like using every sense at once, isn't it? To see sounds and hear shapes. Quite a combination.
Every man and woman on this earth has in them a kind of intuition hidden deep away.
I've had this sense most of my life. Only I thought it was related in some way to my dreaming, or the like.
Most never find it. Others, it takes years to tease out. But for a rare few, it comes as natural as breathing. What you feel is the light of life, of living things past and present. The residue of vitality, come and gone. Any man's senses can be tuned well past what he's born with. if he tries.
And of course, social stealth is a key element in the game which is currently sorely missed from the series, although I do believe it's making a return in Valhalla. Now, the soundtrack isn't too important to a lot of people when playing games, but I believe it's a major factor. And Brian Tyler captured the time period wonderfully with his soundtrack. Every track from the main theme to the ambient themes were incredible and timeless to this day. To be fair, most of the soundtracks in the series are at a very high level, and it is about taste at the end of the day. But again, I go back to the sense of freedom. The soundtrack made me feel free. It made me feel part of the Caribbean world, and tracks such as I'll Be With You ooze emotion, as I showed earlier when Mary passed away. Ashraf Darby, Brian and anyone else involved ensured those emotional scenes were accompanied with a track that fit the moment with a great level of detail I don't think has been matched in any other Assassin's Creed game. And I include the Ezio games in that. There are some moments with Ezio where the music is absolutely spot on, such as Ezio's speech. But those games don't have the same level of consistency with the music in my opinion. Origins comes close, but Black Flag just edges it. See, I have to give a balanced view here, and what I will say is I didn't particularly enjoy the modern day. Playing as yourself was a weird concept after playing as Desmond for 5 games. It's certainly not one of the best modern days in the series. However, we did get a bit of the background into what happened to Desmond, Sean and Rebecca's stories continued, and the modern day Sage is revealed, which ties nicely into the main story. I get why they did it this way, but I feel like they should have introduced a new modern day protagonist in Black Flag, so I felt a little bit disappointed with this. We did see Juno at the end of the game too, which was interesting but ultimately led to nothing as the story was shafted off to the comics and her appearance in Odyssey just wasn't even real. I don't even know what that was. Put it this way, if the modern day was better, I have no doubt that more people would see Black Flag as their favourite AC game. Now of course all of this is just my opinion, but I do believe I have backed up my argument and explained why it's the best Assassin's Creed game. Many will still disagree of course, but I felt the need to make this video because I still see people stating that Black Flag is just a pirate game. It's clearly not. And maybe, just maybe, this video will convince those who feel that way. Well, that is a wrap. Thank you for watching and please let me know what you think, like, subscribe and see you soon.